Recently, I was desperately looking for new books that were written after 2020 that provide practical advice on how to start and grow an art business. This book was recommended to me on Amazon. It's called How to Start a Business Selling Arts and Crafts Online and Offline by Elaina Garcia. The author has a marketing degree and helped many artists to sell their art. In the description of the book, she promises to tell us how. The table of contents also seemed good and much more business oriented, which I was craving after reading Real Artists Don't Starve. So even though this book is not as popular as others and I had not seen it before, I gave it a chance and bought the audio version on Audible for a reduced price of $4.50. When I saw that the audiobook is only 2.5 hours long, I became suspicious that this book might not delve deeply into the outline topics. Unfortunately, I was not far from the truth. After the first 2 chapters, I realized that this book attempts to use the general system for all creative businesses, from jewelry, body products, to fine art, home decor, pet products, and clothing. These are extremely diverse types of arts and businesses. I already had the feeling that this book might become overly generalized by putting all these under the same umbrella while also trying to cover a wide variety of business aspects such as research, business setup, legal procedures, branding, marketing, selling, pricing, and more. My problem from the beginning was yet again learning more about the what, but not really about the how. It is common knowledge that we need to know about the latest marketing trends, understand customer preferences, we need to learn buying patterns, and find the right answers for the right questions. Although the book actually touches on some of these topics later on, I expected much more in-depth knowledge with more practical advice. In chapter 3 about branding and finding your voice, there is a nice guide on some qualities that you should keep in mind, and I think that there are some good reminders there. I like also the startup checklist, which one can look at and immediately understand how far they are in the process or what is missing. I felt that the chapter is really about the business side of art. On the other hand, I also felt that the details focused on the wrong things, such as office location and its parking place, the process of applying for copyright in the US, but not on how to find your brand identity. It would have been nice if, for example, a set of questions had been presented that you could ask yourself to guide you a bit in finding your voice easier. In this way, at least one could have felt a bit of personalization throughout all the general facts and statements. The book gives a good list of places and sites where you can start competitor analysis, and it also provides a set of questions and parameters to look out for. This was a good reminder for me and convinced me to finally do this analysis that I have been postponing for a very long time. The book continues with an explanation of selling online and offline and a list of pros and cons. It is difficult to say much new here, I think, but for someone who is just getting into this, it can be useful. It also encourages you to go to local shops and places, asking them to showcase or even sell your craft. I think it's again a good reminder to think about this early on in the business. At this point in the book, I started to feel that it is a little bit all over the place. I felt that with a little bit of extra effort, the information could have been ordered and condensed in a better way instead of being spread out or even repeating things here and there. So I felt the lack of editing and proofreading a little bit. There is a full chapter on how to be successful, but again, it comes from a very generic angle and it gives a list of qualities that you should have, like self-motivation, high-quality products, patience, good communication skills, which again felt like common sense and too generic. But if you need a reminder of this, then it might be helpful for you. I actually like the chapter on pricing very much, It sounded like a quick lesson from a marketing course, but it was useful for me. Of course, it is generic, but it is anyway very difficult to give very specific advice on pricing, even if you select only a specific craft. So I really appreciated getting a wider range of possible pricing strategies to widen my toolset and expand on how I think about pricing. The last chapter is about becoming a vendor at shows and events, which went into a lot of details. If you are considering starting to sell at such events and locations, you might find good advice here. All in all, it was a quick read, and for the reduced price of $4.50, I think it was worth it, but I may not buy it for much more than that. I did not learn a lot of new things, and in some chapters I got too many details on things that I simply did not need due to the generic nature of this book. I think this book is very good for cherry picking. You may find few useful ideas, few useful pieces of information, especially if you have recently started to think about an art business and you didn't do much or any research. It would give you a quick direction and an overview of the amount of work that you will need to put in. I read this book 3 out of 5. For me, it was an average book, nothing too new, nothing too specific, with only a few concrete action steps. I wrote down some notes while listening to the book, which I might share in the description in case you are interested. Of course, the notes are very limited, but based on them, you might be able to decide faster whether this book is for you or not. And of course, this is only my opinion, and if you read this book, I would be happy to hear yours. If you enjoyed this video, then please like it and subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you in the next one.